The morning sun streamed through the tall windows of Buckingham Palace as Catherine, Duchess of Cambridge, stood before her mirror. Her reflection showed a composed woman, but inside, her heart raced like a wild horse. Today was different from any other royal engagement she had attended in her years as William's wife. The Lord Chamberlain had summoned them for a private audience with Queen Elizabeth II. Such meetings were rare and usually meant something significant was about to happen. Kate had spent the previous night wondering what could be so urgent that the Queen herself had requested their immediate presence. William noticed her nervous energy as she adjusted her navy dress for the third time. "Darling, you look perfect," he said softly, placing his hands on her shoulders. His touch was warm and reassuring. But Kate could see the concern in his eyes, too. Even after all these years in the royal family, some occasions still felt overwhelming. "It's not about how I look," Kate whispered, turning to face her husband. "What if something terrible has happened? What if the Queen is ill and we don't know about it?" Her voice carried the weight of someone who had learned that royal life often came with unexpected challenges and heartbreaking news. William pulled her close, breathing in the familiar scent of her perfume. "Whatever it is, we'll face it together. We always do." His words were meant to comfort, but Kate could feel the tension in his muscles. He was just as worried as she was, though he tried hard not to show it. The walk to the throne room felt endless. Their footsteps echoed through the corridors, lined with portraits of monarchs from centuries past. Kate had walked these halls many times, but today they seemed different, more imposing. Each painting seemed to watch her with knowing eyes, as if they understood something she didn't. Royal protocol demanded that they wait to be announced before entering the throne room. Kate stood beside William, her hands clasped tightly in front of her. She focused on her breathing, trying to calm the butterflies that seemed to be having a party in her stomach. "Their Royal Highnesses, the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge," announced the Queen's private secretary. The heavy doors opened slowly, revealing the magnificent throne room in all its golden splendor. Queen Elizabeth II sat regally on her throne, wearing a deep purple dress with her signature pearls. At 96 years old, she still commanded respect and attention whenever she entered a room. Her eyes, sharp and intelligent, followed Kate and William as they walked toward her. The room felt enormous and intimate at the same time. Kate had been in the Queen's presence countless times, but something about this moment felt different. The air seemed thicker, charged with an energy she couldn't quite understand. As they approached the throne, Kate's mind raced through possibilities. Perhaps the Queen wanted to discuss new charitable responsibilities. Maybe there was a family matter that needed addressing. Or worse, maybe the Queen was preparing them for something they weren't ready to hear. William walked slightly ahead, as protocol required. But Kate could feel his awareness of her every step. They had developed this silent communication over the years, able to sense each other's emotions even in the most formal settings. "Your Majesty," William said, bowing deeply as they reached the appropriate distance from the throne. Kate curtsied gracefully, her years of practice making the movement smooth and natural. But as she rose, she felt a strange lightness in her head. The Queen's voice filled the vast space as she began to speak. "William, Catherine, thank you for coming so promptly." Her tone was serious, carrying the weight of someone about to share important news. Kate tried to focus on the Queen's words, but something was wrong. The room began to feel warm, too warm. The golden decorations on the walls seemed to shimmer and move. She blinked hard, trying to clear her vision, but the feeling only grew stronger. "I have called you here today because there are matters of great importance that we must discuss," the Queen continued. "The future of the monarchy requires certain decisions to be made, and I believe you both should be prepared for what lies ahead." The words hit Kate like a wave. The future of the monarchy. What did that mean? Was the Queen about to abdicate? Was she preparing William for something he wasn't ready for? The questions swirled in her mind like a tornado, making her feel even more lightheaded. Kate tried to steady herself by focusing on William's strong presence beside her. His familiar warmth usually grounded her, but today even that couldn't stop the strange sensation spreading through her body. Her palms grew damp, and she could feel tiny beads of perspiration forming on her forehead despite the cool temperature of the throne room. The Queen's voice seemed to come from far away now, though she was only a few feet in front of them. "The responsibilities you will inherit are immense, and I want to ensure you understand the full weight of what that means." Kate's vision began to blur around the edges. The throne room, with all its grandeur and history, started to feel like it was closing in on her. She could hear her own heartbeat in her ears, loud and irregular. The floor beneath her feet suddenly felt unsteady, as if the solid marble had turned to water. She tried to take a deep breath, but her lungs felt tight. The corseted feeling of her formal dress, which had been perfectly comfortable moments before, now seemed restrictive. Every breath became an effort, and she could feel panic rising in her chest. William must have sensed something was wrong. She felt his subtle movement closer to her, his protective instinct kicking in even as they stood before the Queen. But Kate couldn't find the strength to look at him or signal that she needed help. The Queen was still speaking, her words about duty and service and the future of the crown floating around Kate like distant echoes. She wanted desperately to listen, to understand what was being asked of them, but her body was betraying her. Darkness began to creep in from the corners of her vision. The beautiful throne room, with its centuries of history and power, began to fade away. Kate realized with growing horror that she was about to faint in front of the Queen of England in the most sacred room of the monarchy. She fought against the feeling, trying to will herself to stay conscious and upright, but her body had other plans. Her knees began to buckle and she felt herself starting to sway. In that moment of terror and embarrassment, Kate's last coherent thought was of William and how mortified he would be by her failure to maintain royal composure at such a crucial moment. William felt Kate's body begin to sway beside him before she even realized what was happening. Years of marriage had taught him to read her every movement, every breath, every subtle change in her posture. While his grandmother continued speaking about the weighty matters of succession and duty, his attention was completely focused on his wife. Without breaking protocol or interrupting the Queen, William shifted slightly closer to Kate. His trained eye caught the pale color draining from her face and the way her hands trembled almost imperceptibly. Something was seriously wrong, and he had to act fast. As Kate's knees buckled and she began to fall, William moved with lightning speed. His strong arms caught her before she could hit the marble floor, cradling her against his chest as if she weighed nothing at all. The sound of her dress rustling was the only noise in the suddenly silent throne room. "Catherine!" The Queen's voice cut through the air, filled with genuine concern rather than royal displeasure. In that moment, Elizabeth was not just a monarch, but a grandmother worried about her family. William held Kate securely, one arm supporting her back while the other cradled her head against his shoulder. Her breathing was shallow but steady, and he could feel her heartbeat against his chest. Relief flooded through him as he realized she had only fainted and wasn't seriously injured. "Shall I call for the royal physician, Your Majesty?" asked the Queen's private secretary, who had appeared instantly at the commotion. "Yes, immediately," the Queen replied, rising from her throne with surprising agility for a woman of her age. "And bring some water and smelling salts." William looked down at Kate's peaceful face, her features relaxed in unconsciousness. Even in this vulnerable state, she looked beautiful to him. Her dark hair had come slightly loose from its careful arrangement, framing her face in soft waves. He gently brushed a strand away from her forehead, his touch tender and protective. "I should take her somewhere more comfortable," William said softly. his voice thick with emotion. The throne room, for all its magnificence, was hardly the place for Kate to recover from her fainting spell. "Of course," the Queen said, stepping down from the dais. "Take her to the blue drawing room. It's closer than your private apartments, and there's a sofa where she can rest properly." William lifted Kate more securely in his arms, marveling at how perfectly she fit against him, even in this frightening moment. He had carried her across thresholds and through playful moments, but never like this, never when she truly needed his strength to keep her safe. As he carried her from the throne room, William's mind raced with worry and questions. Kate was healthy and strong. Fainting wasn't like her at all. Was she ill? Had the stress of recent royal duties been too much? Or was there something else, something wonderful and life-changing that could explain her sudden weakness? The blue drawing room was just down the corridor, its walls covered in silk damask and furnished with elegant antiques. William carefully laid Kate on the velvet sofa, adjusting her dress to preserve her modesty and dignity. He knelt beside her, taking her hand in both of his and gently stroking her fingers. "Come back to me, darling," he whispered, his voice barely audible. "I'm right here. You're safe." The royal physician arrived within minutes, a distinguished older man who had served the royal family for decades. He checked Kate's pulse and breathing, his experienced hands gentle and professional. William watched every movement anxiously, needing reassurance that his wife would be fine. "Her pulse is strong and regular," the doctor announced. "Blood pressure seems normal. Has the Duchess been feeling unwell recently? Any symptoms of illness or unusual fatigue?" William thought carefully before answering. Kate had been tired lately, but he had attributed that to their busy schedule of royal engagements. "She's been working very hard," he said. "Long days, multiple events, but nothing that seemed out of the ordinary." The Queen entered the room quietly, her face etched with concern. Despite her formal public persona, she genuinely cared for her family members and their well-being. "How is she, Doctor?" "She appears to be in excellent health, Your Majesty. Fainting can happen for many reasons: stress, dehydration, low blood sugar, or—" He paused meaningfully. "Other natural causes that might explain such symptoms." William understood the implication immediately. His heart began to race with a mixture of excitement and concern. Could Kate be pregnant? They had been hoping for another child, but Kate hadn't mentioned any symptoms or suspicions. Kate's eyelids fluttered, and William squeezed her hand gently. "Kate, can you hear me?" Her eyes opened slowly, unfocused at first, then gradually clearing as she realized where she was. Confusion crossed her face as she saw William kneeling beside the sofa, the Queen standing nearby, and the royal physician taking notes. "What happened?" she asked weakly, trying to sit up. William immediately supported her, his arm around her shoulders. "You fainted in the throne room," William explained gently. "Right in the middle of Granny's speech about our future responsibilities. You scared me to death." Kate's face flushed with embarrassment. "Oh no, I'm so sorry. Your Majesty, how mortifying. I don't know what came over me." The Queen moved closer, her expression kind and understanding. "Nonsense, my dear. These things happen. The important thing is that you're feeling better now." "I do feel better," Kate said, though she still looked pale and shaky. "It was the strangest thing. One moment I was listening to you speak, and the next moment I felt so lightheaded and warm. Everything just seemed to fade away." The physician stepped forward. "Your Royal Highness, I'd like to recommend some tests, just to be certain everything is well. Sometimes fainting can indicate underlying conditions that should be addressed." Kate nodded. Though William could see she was still embarrassed by the whole situation, she hated being the center of medical attention and always preferred to handle things privately. "In the meantime," the Queen said, settling into a nearby chair, "I think we should postpone our discussion until Catherine is feeling completely herself again." The matters we need to discuss are important, but they can certainly wait until you've recovered fully. William helped Kate sit up more comfortably, keeping his arm around her for support. She leaned into his warmth, grateful for his steady presence. Even in her weakened state, she could feel the love and concern radiating from him. "I feel so foolish," Kate murmured against his shoulder, fainting like a character in a Victorian novel. "You feel nothing of the sort," William said firmly. "You're human, Kate. Even royal humans are allowed to have moments of weakness." The Queen smiled at their interaction, remembering her own early days of marriage and the way Philip had always been her anchor during difficult moments. "William is quite right, Catherine. We all have our moments of vulnerability." As Kate rested against William's strong shoulder, she couldn't shake the feeling that this fainting spell might be more significant than just stress or fatigue. Her body felt different somehow, though she couldn't quite put her finger on what had changed. There was a flutter of possibility in her chest, a hope she was almost afraid to acknowledge. William noticed her thoughtful expression and squeezed her hand reassuringly. Whatever was causing these symptoms, they would face it together, just as they had promised each other on their wedding day. In sickness and in health, through royal duties and private moments, they were a team. The afternoon sun streamed through the windows of the blue drawing room, casting everything in a golden glow that seemed to promise better things ahead. Kate closed her eyes and allowed herself to rest in William's arms, feeling grateful for his unwavering support and love. 3 days had passed since Kate's fainting episode in the throne room, and the results of her medical tests had just arrived. She sat in their private sitting room at Kensington Palace, holding the sealed envelope from the royal physician, her hands trembling slightly with anticipation and nervousness. William paced by the window, running his fingers through his hair in a gesture Kate knew meant he was anxious. They had both suspected what the tests might reveal, but neither had dared to voice their hopes aloud. Too much disappointment in the past had taught them to be cautious with their dreams. "Should we open it together?" Kate asked, her voice barely above a whisper. The envelope felt heavy in her hands, weighted with the possibility of life-changing news. William stopped pacing and came to sit beside her on the sofa. His hand covered hers, warm and steady. "Whatever it says, we'll handle it together, just like we always do." Kate carefully opened the envelope, her heart pounding so loudly she was sure William could hear it. Her eyes scanned the medical report quickly, looking for the words that would either fulfill their dreams or leave them waiting longer. "William," she breathed, her voice catching with emotion. "I'm pregnant." The words hung in the air between them for a moment, as if they both needed time to truly believe what they had heard. Then William's face broke into the most beautiful smile Kate had ever seen, his eyes filling with tears of joy. "Really? You're sure?" he asked, taking the report from her hands to read it himself. His voice was thick with emotion, and Kate could see his hands shaking as he held the paper. 8 weeks, Kate said, her own tears beginning to fall. "The doctor says that explains the fainting, the fatigue, everything. Our baby made quite an entrance, didn't they? Announcing themselves right there in front of the Queen." William set the report aside and pulled Kate into his arms, holding her close as they both cried happy tears. After months of hoping and trying, their dream was finally coming true. They were going to have another child, a little brother or sister for George, Charlotte and Louis. "I love you so much," William whispered into her hair. "And I love our baby already, even though they're still so tiny." Kate pulled back to look at her husband's face, memorizing every detail of this perfect moment. "I can't believe it really happened, after all this time of wondering and hoping." "And they announced themselves to the whole royal family," William laughed through his tears. "Only our child would be dramatic enough to make their presence known in the throne room." Kate giggled, imagining how their story would sound when they told their children years from now. Poor Queen Elizabeth. She probably thought I was being terribly rude, fainting right in the middle of her important speech. "Are you kidding?" William said, grinning. "Granny will be thrilled. Another great-grandchild? She'll be over the moon. Although we should probably call her before she hears any rumors." The thought of sharing their news with family filled Kate with warmth and excitement. After keeping their hopes private for so long, it would be wonderful to finally celebrate with the people they loved most. "What about the children?" Kate asked, thinking of George, Charlotte, and Louis. "How should we tell them?" William's expression grew tender as he thought about their 3 little ones. "We'll wait until after the first trimester just to be safe, but I can already picture their faces when we tell them. Louis will probably ask if he can help change diapers." Kate laughed, remembering how excited their youngest had been about helping with baby animals they'd seen during royal visits. "And Charlotte will want to pick out clothes and toys immediately. She's going to be the most protective big sister. George will be the responsible big brother, making sure everyone knows the baby's place in the line of succession," William added with a chuckle. Their eldest son had recently begun understanding the complexities of royal hierarchy. As they sat together, planning and dreaming about their growing family, Kate reflected on how dramatically their day had changed. That morning, she had woken up feeling tired and slightly queasy, attributing it to stress from their busy schedule. Now she knew that their baby had been there all along, growing quietly inside her, waiting for the perfect, dramatic moment to make their presence known. "I should have known something was different," Kate mused, resting her hand on her still flat stomach. "I've been so emotional lately, and those strange cravings for pickles and ice cream." "I noticed you've been more tired than usual," William admitted. "But I thought it was just the pressure from all our recent engagements. I never imagined—" He trailed off, his eyes full of wonder as he looked at Kate's belly where their tiny baby was growing. The afternoon sun streamed through their windows, casting a golden glow over their sitting room that seemed to bless this moment of pure happiness. Kate felt overwhelmed with gratitude for this unexpected gift, for William's unwavering love and support, and for the beautiful family they were building together. "What do you think the Queen will say when we tell her?" Kate asked, remembering how concerned Elizabeth had been during her fainting spell. "She'll probably say it explains everything," William laughed, "and then she'll start planning christening ceremonies and updating the line of succession. You know how she loves official procedures." Kate smiled, imagining the Queen's reaction to learning she would have another great-grandchild. Despite her formal public persona, Elizabeth had always been genuinely loving and supportive of their growing family. "I feel bad that I interrupted her important speech," Kate said. "She was trying to discuss serious matters about our future responsibilities." "Darling," William said, taking her face in his hands, "you didn't interrupt anything. Our baby just wanted to make sure they were included in discussions about the future of the monarchy. It's rather appropriate, actually." As evening approached, they decided to call the Queen and share their wonderful news. William dialed the private number while Kate sat close beside him, her hand resting protectively over her stomach. "Your Majesty," William said when the Queen answered, "Catherine and I have some news to share. It turns out her fainting spell the other day had a very special cause." They could hear the surprise and delight in the Queen's voice as she processed their announcement. After expressing her congratulations and joy, she added with characteristic humor, "Well, that certainly explains the dramatic entrance in my throne room. This little one is going to keep you on your toes." As they ended the call, Kate and William held each other close, both overwhelmed with the magnitude of their news. Their family was growing, their love was deepening, and their future looked brighter than ever. "Thank you," Kate whispered against William's chest. "For what?" he asked, puzzled. "For catching me when I fell, for never letting me face anything alone, for being the most amazing husband and father our children could ask for." William kissed the top of her head, his heart full of love and gratitude. "Always, my darling, always and forever." Outside their windows, London sparkled in the evening light, and somewhere in the distance, church bells chimed the hour. But inside their cozy sitting room, time seemed to stand still as they savored this perfect moment of love, hope, and new beginnings. Their baby might have announced their presence in the most dramatic way possible, but Kate and William couldn't have been happier with the beautiful surprise that had changed their lives forever.